Content disclaimer. This episode discusses comedy that includes offensive language, stereotypes, and outdated humor. The purpose is context, critique, and cultural discussion, not endorsement. Comedy evolves. Whether the laughs do is up to you. Comedy has always been about pushing boundaries. But these films didn't just push the boundaries, they erased them. They mocked them and dared audiences to laugh anyway. Today, we're revisiting the comedies that broke every rule and somehow became classics. In the 1970s, a lot of the offensive comedy was deliberate. It was made to show you different problems we were having in society. And one film that was highly offensive to lots of people, that movie is Blazing Saddles from 1974, a film by Mel Brooks, who was no stranger to outrage and making offensive comedies. He didn't mind making people feel uncomfortable to put his point across. And with Blazing Saddles, that's just what he did. The frequent use of the N-word is what's making people want to cancel this movie. But what Mel Brooks was trying to do is actually show how ignorant being racist was. And how it still really is. It's just ignorance. There's no place for it. And the movie was hilarious. I found it quite funny. I still find it funny when I watch it now. And it's all about a black man who was going to be hung because he's a criminal, was chosen to be a sheriff for a small little west town in the Wild Wild West. And they were looking to get rid of the people out of this town so they could take over the land, this corrupt politician. And what happened was, when he got there, everybody was so shocked to see this black man as their sheriff. And they did pack up ready to go. But Gene Wilder, another prisoner that was there in the jail, became the sheriff's ally. And it's just, everything is what just went through it from that point on. But it was really hilarious. It had some excellent actors in it. And if you can understand the context of what's going on and appreciate what Mel Brooks was trying to do, you would definitely enjoy it. You can now stream it on HBO Max and rent it on Amazon Prime. When I was about 6 years old, we went to the drive-in to see this new movie that my mother and my father was really excited to see. And it had two comedians who were well known for their stoner persona. And this is Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke from 1978. I remember sitting there as a little kid cracking up laughing at this movie because they were so silly. We have both Cheech and Chong, two stoners who's all they're looking for is to get high. One comes from a rich family, which is Chong, and Cheech comes from a poor Mexican family. And together they get themselves in a lot of trouble and a bunch of chaos goes on with them. And they eventually get this van that's made out of weed. So it was just funny. It's a hilarious movie. It's a funny movie. It is the precursor to all of the stoner movies, comedies that we got, like How High and Dude, Where's My Car, and just half-baked. So we get all those little stoner comedies came from Cheech and Chong and their Up in Smoke and all the rest of the films after that. Right now you can watch Up in Smoke actually on YouTube for free, and you can rent it on Amazon. Blazing Saddle was offensive on purpose, but it was trying to show you something with society But when we get to the early 80s, in the 80s period, the offensiveness of the comedies were a lot broader and a lot different than what was being done by Mel Brooks. And during this time, we got to see a movie that had Michael Keaton before he became our Batman, and Henry Winkler after being Fonz. And that movie is Night Shift from 1982, I do believe. In Night Shift, we have both Henry Winkler and Michael Keaton working in a morgue, of course, at the night shift. And during this time, there's nobody there. It's only them and a bunch of deceased people. And Michael Keaton decides to help out Henry Winkler's neighbor, who's played by Shelley Long, who was a prostitute whose pimp was murdered. Because of that, they're being treated very poorly by other pimps and by even their clientele, refusing to pay them for their services. So he has this big bright idea to turn the morgue into an escort service. This took a lot to convince Henry Winkler to do this because he's such a very straight-laced gentleman, very mild-mannered. So once they changed this morgue over to this escort service, they were breaking a lot of money. Henry Winkler wanted to make sure the girls were self-sufficient, that they paid taxes, that they kept their money, and they went ahead and bought a restaurant for the girls, invested their money so that they become, they wouldn't have to be street workers anymore. They went through such a craziness of going to jail, losing their jobs, losing a lot of things, losing everything, to try to help Shelley Long's character out. And it was this amazing transformation that Henry Winkler's character went through to grow a backbone. And it was so funny and it was hilarious. And the idea of turning a morgue into an escort service, that was just straight 80s. Straight 80s. You would love it. If you've not seen Night Shift, I would definitely recommend watching it. And right now, Night Shift is streaming on Tubi, Plex TV, the Roku channel, and you can rent it on Prime Video. d.c.cab from 1983 gave us a star-studded cast. We have Mr. T, Max Gale, Adam Baldwin, Charlie Barnett, Gary Busey, Bill Maher, Marsha Warfield, Paul Rodriguez, Otis Day, Irene Cara, and John Deal, and many more. d.c.cab was about this cab company that they employed just some derelict people. You have hustlers, you had this backstabbing people. You have to look at some of the terms that were done. We thought Blazing Saddles was bad with the use of N-word. d.c.cab had derogatory language thrown between the black cabbies and the white cabbies and the Mexican cabbie and the gay cabbie, the straight cab. It didn't matter who you were. The terms, the derogatory slurs were slung back and forth between them all. And they tried to, you got to see these cabbies going against each other like that, but then they come together to try to save the taxi cab company that they work for. And you have to get through some of the language, some of the derogatory terms they were using against each other. For me, when I saw it, I was young. I was only 11 when I saw it, which I shouldn't have been watching it that young. But I was laughing. I laughed so hard at the movie because it was so funny. And I wanted to try to watch it again, but unfortunately you cannot find it anywhere. You can rent it on Prime's Film, but it was a parody of Hollywood and what black actors kind of went through in the 80s and 70s, like period, what they kind of went through, period. And it was done by Robert Townsend and Keenan Ivory Wayans in his Hollywood Shuffle from 1987. In this, Robert Townsend plays a young guy who's trying to make his big break in Hollywood. But he finds that all the roles that he could get were either a pimp or a drug addict or a gangster or a slave. And it was like Hollywood only saw blacks in a certain light. And this movie, they made this movie to parody Hollywood and actually also to have commentary on Hollywood and how black actors, what they had to go through to even make it in Hollywood. So it has of course, the Wayans. You have Keenan, Damon, Kim. You also have, so Robert Townsend was the main actor. You had David Alan Grier. So it was a star-studded cast with the film, and it was funny, but it was also kind of enlightening. You look at this and you're like, dang, yeah, that is true. That is how, those are the characters you usually see black people portrayed. So we're trying to make a point and have people look at, just like how Mel Brooks did with Blazing Saddles, and really what Mel Brooks does on a lot of his films. Robert Townsend and Keenan Ivory Wayans like to do the same thing. In fact, the next film, which, Hollywood Shuffle, you can stream it on Prime Video, Pluto TV, and Tubi, and it's really a good movie and it's well worth watching. And that leads us on to the next parody movie done by Keenan Ivory Wayans, which when I turned 16, my uncle took me to see this movie for my birthday, and it was I'm Gonna Get You Sucka from 1988. This one is a parody on blaxploitation films, and in fact, it had a lot of actors from that genre. You had Jim Brown, Isaac Hayes. So you had some hard hitters from the blaxploitation, and it was hilarious, but it also once again was trying to make a point on how movies and how things were for the black actor. Antonio Vargas had the funniest scene to me. He was Fly Guy, this pimp, that when he got out of prison, he thought he was still cool. He had his fly suit on, his platform shoes with the fish in the bottom in the water. And as he's walking, everyone is making fun of him because the way he's dressed is no longer in fashion. He looks like a clown. So he runs and his platform shoes break, and then the fish goes all over the place in the water. It was so funny. And everybody inside the theater busted out laughing, and just that's what made it even more fun watching the movie, because everybody in the theater was laughing so hard throughout this film. And right now you can watch I'm Gonna Get You Sucka on Tubi, Pluto TV, and you can also rent it on Prime. We enter the 90s with singing, wisecracking cockroaches, thousands of them, in Joe's Apartment from 1996. I remember seeing this movie at the theater. At the time, I was working at Lowe's Cinema here in Dayton, Ohio. And we got to see this movie. We screened the movie before it came out. And I tell you what, everybody, we were all in there just cracking up laughing, watching these little roads just thousands of roaches singing and dancing. But it kind of made me just squirm too, seeing that many cockroaches. I hated. That's the only thing about it. Just seeing that many cockroaches was really, it just kind of make your skin crawl watching that. But it was, oh my God, it was a funny movie. And it had starred Jerry O'Connell, and it was so funny and enjoyable. Unfortunately, I don't think you can find Joe's Apartment anywhere to watch it. It's right now only available for rent on Prime Video. It was MTV's first movie release, and you can tell it sounds like something MTV would have put out, but it was funny. If you can find it, rent it. It's a funny movie. I think you would enjoy it, and that's Joe's Apartment from 1996. The next movie is about some working class men who lost their job and decides to do something to make money. This movie was The Full Monty from 1997. Oh my goodness. It was such I just watched it again for this episode, and it still had me crying. It still had me laughing. And they got this idea after seeing how many women went to go see the Chippendale dancers, and they were all, they didn't know where they're going to get money. Now the main character, one of the main characters, was losing his son. He was behind on his child support, and they took his son away from him, so he couldn't see his son. So he wanted to make enough money to get his son to be able to see his son again. So he convinced the rest of the men that his best friend and some other men that were at the job they called in Britain it was called the Job Club. He convinced them to, hey, let's strip and make some money, because they were all hurting for money. The one way they found to separate themselves from the Chippendale dancers, because they weren't gorgeous men, they weren't built nice, they were just your typical men, just regular men. So they decided to offer the full Monty. Now, the full Monty means full nudity. And so it was hilarious. And it was so heartwarming to see these. It was just sad to see these men going through what they went through, and what they decided to do to try to make some money was absolutely hilarious. It was a wonderful movie. I loved it. And I still, even to this day, when I watched it again, it was just as funny as it was when I saw it in 1997. So I highly recommend it. It is on on Prime Video right now. And I'm so happy that I actually own it on physical media, so I can watch it anytime that I would like to watch it. In this next film, we have Norm Macdonald and Artie Lang working as a revenge for hire. They started a revenge for hire business, and that's Dirty Work from 1998. I had never heard of this before, and I'd never seen it. When I was looking up movies for this episode, it popped up on Prime Video, and I watched it, and I really enjoyed it. I love the idea of being a revenge for hire business. Norm Macdonald's character was really good at pulling pranks on people. And unfortunately, they needed to try to raise $50,000 fast for surgery that his best friend's father needed. He needed a heart. And Chevy Chase is playing this messed up surgeon who has this gambling problem, and he's going to be knocked off if he doesn't pay this $50,000. So they agreed to get the money to him, and the only way that they could figure out how to get the money is to do this revenge for hire. So they were making all this money going and being hired to do revenge pranks on people. It was a funny movie. It's kind of bittersweet because Norm Macdonald is no longer with us. And so it's like we have Don Rickles is no longer with us and Jack Warden. So there's some of these actors are no longer with us. And, it was sad watching this movie and seeing some of these actors on there. But it was really a fun movie. It was hilarious, well worth watching. And you can watch it now on Prime Video, Pluto TV, and also Tubi and the Roku channel. And you can also rent it on Amazon. South Park's Bigger, Longer, and Uncut from 1999. It had a lot, when it came out, there was so much backlash for that. I mean, already South Park was already going through a lot of backlash from people, from parents and things like that. But this movie, I remember when it came out, I was shocked watching it. I mean, I knew South Park was they always had offensive things, and it was a lot, very pushing the envelope on a lot of things. But this movie, they pushed a lot. I don't even know. In fact, I don't remember if this I don't know how it got an R rating. Some of the stuff was very explicit in there. But if you can handle some of the jokes and the kind of, like I said, it's a cartoon, but it was very, very explicit on some things. And it was funny to me. Some of it was funny watching it. You have the scene with Saddam Hussein and Satan, and it was a very different take on some things. But right now, the South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut can be seen on Paramount Plus. As we move over to the 2000s and beyond, I noticed that the comedy was different. It's no longer a lot of commentary. It's not, some of it is, but not like it was in the 70s and 80s. Things are a lot different as we got moved into the 2000s. And starting off, one of the main comedians that was doing a lot of good, a lot of comedy in the 2000s was Jim Carrey. And this movie here is by far my favorite movie of his. It shows all of his range, kind of him being a little bit more serious and then turn into a split personality with all of his body comedy. And that was Me, Myself, and Irene from 2000. This movie, he is a mild-mannered police officer, and he's a trooper, I believe. And his wife leaves him with their triplets, but his triplets happen to be black. And his wife leaves him for the black dwarf. So he's left raising his sons. And everybody walks over him. They make fun of him in the town. Nobody respects him because of what his wife did to him. And he accepts his sons. He says they're his, even though he knows that they're not his, but they're his sons. And he raised them when his wife left. So after a little while, he starts to crack. The people keep pushing him to the point that he creates this other persona or identity who is more brash, who doesn't get walked over on, who's not stepped on. And that's where the hilarity ensues, and it's just so funny watching him go from Hank to Charlie. And then if you bring in Irene, who's Renee Zellweger, to say her name properly, who's playing Irene, and he has to transport her to another another town for her to be booked to go to jail, but instead he helps her try to get away from these corrupt cops, and it's just so funny. It's so crazy, it's so funny. And Jim Carrey, I loved him in this film. I think you can see his range, you can see that he is such an excellent actor and comedian, and I love this film. And you can rent it on Prime Video. Unfortunately, it's not streaming anywhere, and that's Me, Myself, and Irene, and I highly recommend it if you've not seen it. The next film it's on this list only because it is, we're talking about offensive comedies, this is one of those. It's not something I particularly cared for. I did rewatch it again for this episode. Still do not care for this film, and that's Freddy Got Fingered from 2001. It is very obscene. And mainly it's due to a few scenes where he's doing some things to some animals that just didn't sit well with me, and I didn't like it back in 2001 in my 20s, and I don't like it now in 2026. But like I said, it's one of those films that is very offensive, and if we're going to do an offensive comedy list, it has to be on it. It's a movie done by Tom Green, and I never really thought Tom Green films are really that funny anyway. But Freddy Got Fingered, very offensive, very polarizing. For some people love it, and I'm one of the ones that hated it. So right now it's streaming on Plex TV if you want to watch it, and that's Freddy Got Fingered from 2001. This film, we watched this one again, and I was still crying laughing. And it's Shaolin Soccer from 2001. Stephen Chow, that was another film as well on this list from him, that he is just hilarious. I did watch this both ways, but I watched it this last time dubbed, and it's so funny what it's dubbed. When you listen to them speak in English, and it's funny some of the stuff that they say. But in Shaolin Soccer, there's a disgraced gentleman. He was called Golden Leg, and he had this powerful kick, and he was such a popular soccer player, but his leg got broken and he was forced to throw the game by this other competitor who is now head over the soccer, and he has this team that's beating everybody. Well, Golden Leg tried to create a new team, and he met Stephen Chow's character, and he realized he had a gift like him. He had a golden leg, pretty much like him. So they formed a soccer team with all Shaolin monks. And it was so incredibly funny. It has these cartoon-like way they move and they play. it's just so hilarious and so funny. And even though it is a Chinese film, you can still understand and get the context of it. Like I said, I watched it dubbed with the dub in English. I did watch it subtitled before too. So if you can find it with the dubbing, if you don't like reading the subtitles, probably would be the best to be able to watch it that way. And right now you can watch Shaolin Soccer. You can stream it on Pluto TV or you can rent it on Prime Video. That was very offensive to people was Jack Black in Shallow Hal from 2001. And in this film, Jack Black's character is very opinionated. He's like what they call him, shallow. He only judges people by the way they look and what they have and what they can do for him. And he got cursed to see somebody for what they were on the inside. So this sets things in motion, and it is so incredibly funny. Now, like I said, some people were offended by this because he fell in love with a very severely obese woman, but he didn't see her as severely obese, and she was played by Gwyneth Paltrow, and of course they put a fat suit on Gwyneth and makeup to make her look really big. Some people took offense to some of that, but the movie to me was very funny, and it was making a point that what somebody looks like on the outside doesn't equal their worth or what they are, or what kind of person they are. His friend was dating a woman that he thought was gorgeous, but Shallow Hal could see her for the way she looked. So she looked this old, decrepit, old woman, but his friend only seen her, and like everybody else saw her, as this beautiful woman. They didn't see that she was so ugly and damaged on the inside. She was just not a beautiful person. Whereas the other woman, even though she was big and her friends were big, and there's other women that were handicapped or they weren't as pretty, to him, he saw them as they were inside, and they were all beautiful women. And his friend was making fun of him because he was looking at all these women that were not very attractive, and he was getting all these women that he thought were good, were beautiful, so he thought he was getting really popular. But in essence, the movie, he learned to love people for what they were and stop looking at them on the outside. Next part of the 2000s, let me know what you enjoyed about so far with the episode. Is it the 70s and 80s that were more like the kind of offensive comedies you like? Was it the 90s? Or maybe it's the 2000s? Let me know in the comment. Our next film is actually a remake from a British film by the same name from 1955, The Ladykillers. The remake stars Tom Hanks and Marlon Wayans, and it's still entitled The Ladykillers. This movie had so many layers to it. Tom Hanks is portraying a criminal who finds that there's a room for rent in this big mansion with a woman, it's a widower, that lives there all alone. So she's renting a room. And her house actually can be tunneled from her basement to this casino, where they plan on robbing the casino by drilling a hole through this woman's basement and through her wall and getting over to the casino. Well, they pretend to be a band and they go down in the basement and they play this tape to make it sound like they're down there playing the instruments, and they try to convince this woman to allow them to keep working down there in the basement. So they go through all this to try to get the money, and she finds out that they stole money. She don't know where the money came from, but she tells them that they need to turn that money back in. So it's craziness, them trying to silence this old woman so they don't get caught, and just so many this chaos happens after that, and just so funny. And it's funny looking at Tom Hanks playing this bad guy anyway, but it was hilarious. I think one, I do recommend it, highly recommend it if you've not seen Ladykillers. I did not watch the original. I heard that the 1955 version is quite good as well, but it's the Ladykillers, Tom Hanks. You can watch it on Prime. You have to rent it on Prime Video. It's not streaming anywhere, unfortunately. Now, we saw the one Stephen Chow film. The next one is Kung Fu Hustle, which I don't have that one. I don't have it in physical media, but it's Kung Fu Hustle from 2004. And Kung Fu Hustle takes the two monks, the Shaolin monks, and now they're in this new area of town, and there's this gang called the Axe Gang. They're axe murderers, and they're taking over the area. Now there's a small little town that they stay to themselves. They don't bother anybody. It's just them, and they stay in this little town, this little village. And in this little village actually stays 3 Shaolin, there's other monks there that have this power, the Kung Fu powers. So it's so funny. You have a scene where the landlady is chasing the Stephen Chow, and they're running like the Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, and it's so hilarious. A lot of this film is just like how Shaolin Soccer was. It's comedy that's also cartoonish, but I loved Kung Fu Hustle. Was so incredibly funny, and it is subtitled, but it's very funny, and it's not too hard to actually understand and to read it. I would highly recommend it if you can find Kung Fu Hustle. Right now, it is streaming on Tubi, and you can also rent it on Prime Video. We have another Wayans brothers, but this time it's the two younger brothers, and that's White Chicks from 2004. The version that I have, this unrated, uncut version, is even more insane than, of course, the theatrical version of the movie. And in White Chicks, the two brothers, Sean and Marlon, go undercover to help protect these two females that are their two sisters, and they go undercover pretending to be them so that they don't, because they have like a hit out on them. So they have to, instead of doing the black face, they white faced it. They become whitewashed, and also pretend to be women at the same time. So it was crazy. You had, there's some things that happen inside the movie that is offensive, and I know it was offensive to some people. To me, once again, I thought it was hilarious. It was a funny movie. Still makes me laugh till I cry, even watching it now. But White Chicks if you've not seen White Chicks, I'm pretty sure everybody's probably seen White Chicks or seen some part of it. If you haven't seen it, Take a look at it. It's funny. And right now, you can watch White Chicks you can stream it on Stars. You can also rent it on Prime Video. Tropic Thunder parodied other movies in Hollywood, again, pretty much like Hollywood Shuffle did. Tropic Thunder did the same thing and they had little commercials or trailers of fake movies intertwined within the fake movie that was being made, but they ended up being taken into a real area of the jungle to fight actual people that were willing to kill them. So it was this. It was Robert Downey Jr. playing a dude, playing another dude, just playing a dude. And when I first seen this movie, I was like, "Where's Robert Downey Jr. at?" Because I thought it was truly a black guy. And now, of course, I watched it multiple times now. Now I was like, "Oh, how did I not see that was Robert Downey Jr.?" But he did such an excellent job in the film, and why it didn't really offend a lot of black people is because he wasn't doing it in a way to be like a minstrel show. He became this because, and people missed the context. They missed the point of the film. The point of the film that Hollywood always used someone else that wasn't black or wasn't Hispanic or wasn't Egyptian or wasn't Asian to play those parts, and sometimes they would use makeup to have them do those parts. And in Tropic Thunder, they were just doing it to show the fallacy and hypocrisy of Hollywood. And that's all it was. And to me, it was extremely funny. It was funny seeing Tom Cruise with a fat suit on and dancing at the end of the movie, which was absolutely, we couldn't stop laughing when we watched that part. But to me, Tropic Thunder, to me, it's a funny movie. It's still funny to me. I still enjoy it. I didn't find it offensive, and a lot of people don't find it offensive. So I'm glad it didn't get canceled, but I'm pretty sure they've tried to cancel it and to not let it be shown. That's why I love owning my physical media, because it can't be taken away from me, and it can't be changed, and it cannot be altered. So that's why I love having physical media. But right now, you can stream Tropic Thunder on Paramount Plus. You could also probably rent on Amazon too. And then we come to The Hangover from 2009. I watched the unrated version, which is even more off the wall. And the main thing I think with The Hangover, especially the unrated version, was those the pictures at the end of the movie. That's something that people were walking out inside the movie theater. They walked out prior to the pictures in the movie. Now, they didn't show some, they would only show a couple of the one in the unrated version. They showed you even more, and it was the more explicit pictures, and that's what just made it even more funny. But in The Hangover, they're going to a bachelor party. He's getting married, but everything just goes off the wall, off the rails. Everything's messed up, and they're trying to find a way to get in time for the marriage scene. I still think The Hangover was hilarious. The ones they made afterwards, they're okay. The quality goes down as the movies continue. But the first one, the first Hangover, to me, is the best one. It is funny, and it is, right now you can rent it on Prime Video. It is not available to stream. All the films on this list were a product of their time. In the 70s and 80s, we saw offensive comedies that actually were trying to make a point about something. They were commentary and putting a mirror toward the social injustices that they seen going on during the time. In the 90s and 2000s, our comedy got a lot more offensive, but they didn't really apologize for anything. Sometimes it wasn't even really about social commentary. It was just to be offensive. And I find that for me, most of these were still quite funny, except for, like I said, Freddy Got Fingered. I hate that movie. But for a lot of us, we're not easily offended. But this new climate of cancel culture has changed things. We see movies being changed, scenes being removed, some movies being just pulled off the shelf and not being seen at all, like the Song of the South, like what Disney has done. We've seen that you can't even watch some of these movies without having a disclaimer before they're going to be played, because they don't want to offend someone. I don't know where our comedy is going to go. I know we still have movies like Django Unchained and Inglourious Bastards and things like that, but our comedy is being sanitized. Comedians are afraid to say things because they're afraid of being canceled, of losing money, losing their livelihood because of a joke that they told. Or losing their livelihood because of a joke they told 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. It's just a sad time. It's a sad time for comedy. It's a sad time for a lot of things. And I'm hoping that things will get better. Are some jokes out of line and it shouldn't be told? Or maybe. But that's up to you as an individual to decide what's offensive to you and what's not offensive. Next episode, I'll be looking at some comedians who were groundbreaking, who told jokes that today would not be welcomed. So look for the next episode. I'll see you in the next one. If you haven't watched the other playlists I have, it'll be showing on one side of the video here for you to take a look at it. And I'll see you in the next episode.